When does it make sense to go national or EU?
They're different programs.
And are there conflicting, is there a similar program in the EU that exists also in Cyprus?
There is, for example, for very innovative startups, deep tech, as we call them, startups that do real innovation on a global scale. They can apply to a program in Cyprus, and there's a similar program in the EU. We always start from the national programs because you're competing on a national scale.
It's easier.
It's not easier in terms of it's not certain, but your chances are bigger. Because as I told you, maybe it's 1 in 10. Whereas if you go to the EU landscape to compete, it's 5%, 3%, and so on, and you're competing with the best innovative startups at the EU level.
Is there any limit to what a single company can?
Yes, there are limits.
So you can't just continue applying for grants?
For example, a very basic rule is it's not allowed to have double funding. What is double funding? I cannot ask from 2 funded projects to fund a specific invoice, a specific cost. This is illegal because I'm getting money from 2 sources for 1 expense.
Not even if you split it in 2?
No, you need to apply for different expenses for the same activity, for the same event, let's say. One program can cover an amount of expenses, and another program, if you're lucky enough to get 2 approvals, can fund for the same event different costs.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified when we upload new content. Follow us on Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It will help the channel, which I hope you love so much. Another episode here on the Financial Frontiers. Today my guest is Celia Hadjichristodolou, Dr. Celia Hadjichristodolou, founder and CEO of GrantXpert. Since 2009, Celia, I think, let me not botch your introduction. You introduce yourself. Thank you very much for your time. I would like, this podcast is about, I guess, funding, just to kind of expand on this. It's about funding. It's about entrepreneurship. It's about universities, because I know you have background there. It's about the schooling system. Let's get into a conversation over here and hopefully inspire some individuals, shed some light. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dinos, for the invitation. I really appreciate it. My name is Celia Hadjichristodolou. As you already mentioned, I've started GrantXpert Consulting back in 2009, and the company focuses and specializes in EU funding consulting. So we help individuals, organizations, universities, SMEs, research companies, research centers, non-profit organizations, municipalities to get funding from national and EU funds. We handle the whole process for them from scratch, from A to Z, from finding the right program for them, then helping them in preparing a complete, correct package to submit to the relevant funding agency. With the right, following all the instructions, all the deadlines, all the call details to make sure nothing is missing or everything is completed correctly. And once the approval comes, we help them in project management work as well. And over these 15 years, we've developed expertise in areas that you've already mentioned, relating to entrepreneurship, supporting startups, digital skills, leadership skills, employability skills for young people coming out of the university. And one of our roles is to work as a bridge between universities and companies, because we see there's a big gap there. There's not enough collaboration, but we can talk about that during our discussion.
Of course. You want to share some of your background before GrantXpert? What were you doing?
So my father really wanted me to be a chartered accountant, because he was a banker, so he saw that profession had a lot of growth over 20 years ago. So I studied accounting and finance at the London School of Economics in the UK. It was a really useful degree, if you ask me, but what I loved the most was management, anything to do with management of companies. So my master's was in management studies at the University of Cambridge. So I have a bit of a background in finance, accounting, economics, and management, which helps a lot when I consult people. And I came back in 2004. I was looking for a job back then. And I started working as a teacher in a private school for a year. And at the same time, I was working part-time as a part-time lecturer in universities. At that time, they weren't universities, they were colleges. They became universities 2-3 years after. And I found out that I love teaching. I like all the connection you have and the networking you have with young people and the fact that you transfer your knowledge to them. And I decided I wanted to do a PhD, but I didn't want to go back to the UK. I wanted to develop more work experience. So I stayed here. I looked for PhD programs that could be done on a distant route. And I started my PhD with the Sheffield University while working at the same time, which was difficult.
Remotely?
Yeah, it was remotely. I only went 3 times over the 5-year period. It wasn't an easy period because you have to work full-time and then you go back home and you have to study and do all this research.
Yeah, that takes discipline. That takes
a lot
grind.
Of discipline and, it's calling your friends and they're out and you have to, stay in and work. But I don't regret it. I love the fact that I did all this research work because it helps me now when I'm involved in research projects with universities. I understand what they're talking about in terms of methodologies, how they do their research, what methods they use, and so on. But I never wanted to become a full-time academic. I was more into the industry side of things. I didn't want to stay on a full-time position in a university and just
so what made you trigger? What gave you that leap of faith to move out of what many would say, regard as a secure, safe job?
It was a very safe, So after 1 year in a private school, I started working at the European University Cyprus. Then it was still a college. It was Cyprus College. And I was employed at the research center for 4.5 years. So I learned a lot from these people. They were a very experienced team in terms of funding opportunities because Cyprus became a member of the EU in 2004. And I started working there in 2005. Oh. So everything was new for everyone in Cyprus. How to apply to these programs, how to have updated information all the time when a new call opens, when a new program opens. And it was a great school, a great university for me because I learned about programs and I saw that there was a big gap in terms of knowledge and information sharing to the general public. Not a lot of people knew on how to find the right program, then how to apply and so on. There was a very small number of consultants at the time. There were 2-3 companies at the time. So I worked there for 4.5 years. I always had at the back of my mind that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to create something on my own since I was a little girl. Although my parents are not entrepreneurs, it was something that, you bring with you, I think. And in 2008, I saw that there was a new program by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry for young women entrepreneurs, women who wanted to start their own companies. I applied to that program in 2008. And within a year, I got the reply, a positive reply. And that gave me the push, the motive to start the company because now I had some money on the side. And my parents were not very happy that I left the academic world.
The typical Gen... what is it?
Boomers.
With the boomers way of thinking.
They wanted, a stable, secure job.
What are you doing?
Both of my parents worked in banks, so they had very secure jobs, good salaries, but they didn't stop me. They didn't say don't do it. They were very skeptical, but they told me it's your decision. I started when I was 27, so I was very young. Back then, I didn't realize I was very young. Now I know. So it's been 15 years of a roller coaster.
Well, you're obviously doing something right because,
It's a lot of work, actually. That's the...
How many people are you now?
Now we're 20 people. It's the biggest in terms of the number of people. It's a big number for me.
Yeah.
And in the past 2 years, we've also started a new unit, a second company that I'm running with the European University Cyprus, the one I mentioned to you that I started my career. We kept a really good collaboration over the years. And we have a new unit called the Future Skills Hub, where we concentrate on trainings, where we prepare people for the future of work and the skills of the future. So it's to I have to run 2 companies, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. That's not easy.
You know how it goes.
Yes. So going back to just those universities, and I think maybe a little bit out of the scope of, not really. So the colleges in Cyprus, and now I'm a bit out of this, academic side of things, but what I'm seeing is I'm getting the feeling that in Cyprus there's prestige, the level of how the degrees are viewed as over here. Now that they converted from a college to a university. Back 15 years ago, it didn't have the same name. I think this is the feeling I have, and now it is. There are people coming from outside. I've got friends from South Africa who thinking to bring their daughter and want to study doctor or whatever it is, and there's a lot. My cousins' daughters here. There's a lot of interest from outside coming
because they've done a good job in terms of enhancing the quality of the education, enhancing the number, the level of people they hire in academic and research positions. They've also spent a lot of millions in new infrastructures, which are state of the art when you compare them to other similar schools at European and international level. So we do have some schools, even in the private universities, are among the best right now. And of course, we have the public universities, which also have a really high standard of quality of education.
Right. I can't remember who I was having a podcast with. Was a recent podcast where we were speaking about the bridge that's required, a stronger bridge that's required from fresh graduates and then entering into the workplace, right? I think there's room for improvement, not only in Cyprus but generally.
Worldwide. Yeah, because the educational institutions, they cannot keep up with the developments. The developments are so fast-paced in terms of new technologies and how technology is utilized in all industries horizontally. And also, a lot of the times, you can see that academics, they use the same slides, the same material they use for the past, I don't know how many years. And this should not be allowed.
It's outdated.
You need to update your stuff on a monthly basis, let's say, or every 6 months you need to have additions. And also, because a lot of academics don't have access to the industry, they teach things in a theoretical way. Whereas if you do bring industry professionals into the class to talk to your students, you get a different perspective of what you're teaching. It's not just theory, but how do you put it in practice? I teach leadership, right? So I've studied all these theories coming from research. Because I have my own company, I've put a lot of these theories in practice. So when I teach leadership, it's not theoretical.
Yes.
I tell them, guys, tell me your ideas. Do you like this theory? Does it work in practice? So let's bring it into our own context. But also I tell them, guys, it's nice, but it needs, revision. It's too simplistic as a model. So I think all academics need to have a closer link with their own industry. If I'm teaching pharmaceutical, I need to go and find the best pharmaceutical companies in Cyprus and make sure that I send my students for internship positions during the summer, that they come and talk to my students. I go and see their work or how my research applies to them. You need to have this constant communication. And this is happening, but I think there's a lot of, room for improvement. You see a lot of academics doing it nowadays, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Because what we're seeing is most of the time people go and get into jobs not remotely closely linked to what they studied, which is unfortunate. Almost I don't think it's a waste of time, but many would look at that as, what a waste of time. What did you go and study for?
It's not like that, though. I don't think it's a waste of time because from what you've studied, you develop a school of thought. So I have a background in accounting and finance. I've never worked as an accountant, but that school of thought, being conservative, looking at your cash flow in a very careful, manner, seeing proactively what's coming up in terms of inflows, outflows in the next 6 months. this helps me in keeping a very healthy company in terms of financials. So I'm utilizing that knowledge,
Of course.
but in a different way. Also, when I write a proposal, you write the proposal in terms of context, and then you write a budget.
Yeah.
These two need to match what I'm promising that I will be doing in terms of events, activities, research, has to be very closely matched with the budget. So if I didn't have an accounting background, maybe the budget side would be a challenge for me if I came from very theoretical backgrounds.
Yes.
But for me, it's an easy process.
Yes.
So it helps to be able to match management, accounting, economics, and utilize them in different sections. People study political sciences, for example, or social sciences, and they come to us and they work as researchers in EU projects, or they study Greek literature, and you can utilize these people in social media content.
Yeah.
So
of course,
there
are different degrees that have, let's call it, useful knowledge that you can use in different
skills. You develop skills.
100%. Agreed.
Yeah.
If you go and you do doctor, for example, let's say you study to be a neuroscientist, like a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
And then you don't do it and you do something else. Even then, I believe that you learn something. You learn discipline. You're showing up, whatever. So let's talk about a GrantXpert, and let's get practical here, right? So, and I'll speak from my lens, my perspective. When it comes to funding, and my company is still 9 years old, considered young. Let's call it young. Along the way, I've always looked at this monstrosity task. It's a mountain of a task for me, on getting a government grant. I just never had the time. And this is my perspective. I don't know if everybody shares it. I'm sure there are people who share the same sentiment. Just too much work, too much paperwork. Don't even know where to go. What kind of program fits me? What would you just say to individuals like me, and maybe even till today, maybe I'm still entitled, maybe I can still apply for different things that are happening over here. I am proud of the fact that I've not had any investment anywhere.
From outside.
I've built this thing from scratch and organically, and there is an element there that makes it. There's nothing's bulletproof, foolproof. But
of course,
when you build the thing from scratch, you're forced to think outside of the box and figure out a way to reduce vulnerabilities.
All the units, right? The work that everyone is doing here.
Yes.
So you cannot be fooled very, very easily.
Yes.
Because you've worked through all these units, all through the
Of
positions.
course, yes. What's really challenging for me now is I'm doing so many things. Just too many things, and I think I'm spreading myself a bit too thin. But
same here. That's how I feel as well.
But I don't think the alternative is better. So what? I'm going to reduce all these other initiatives, these other projects, to focus on one thing.
There's a bigger risk there, right?
Yeah. There's a bit. So you're vulnerable on you're focusing on just one project. And even if you do pay full attention on one specific thing, I don't think micromanaging my team is going to make any difference.
Yeah, it never does. Micromanagement is a disastrous approach. We all do it.
Yes.
But what we teach in leadership, Dinos, is that we have to get out of that cycle of micromanagement and find a solution to that.
Exactly. And so I think I'm kind of forced to have to manage this thing properly, because if I was doing, let's say it was just DGM in the service we offer, one single service, I'd have the time to look at every single little thing that's happening. And I'm pretty sure I'd make some mistakes somewhere when it comes to micromanagement. When you've got your team and you've got to trust your people that figure it out.
Yeah, that's the issue, the trust issue, right?
Yes. And so we went into a different direction. So
I just want to comment on what you said. A lot of people feel exactly like you, that it's a lot of work. It's too much bureaucracy. I don't know where to look for the right program. I don't know where to start. I'm not sure if the consultants that I will go and ask will tell me the truth. So this is exactly what we work in terms of getting away all this pain. I say, it's a pain, right? So there is money available. This money can help me in growing my company, and I'm entitled to that because you're working in an ethical way. You have a healthy company, and these are the type of companies the EU wants to help. So exactly, this is the pain we take away. How do we take it away? We have seminars, right? These are funded by the Human Resource Development Authority. So the cost is very small for somebody to come and get a first idea within a day of what are the programs available to the majority of SMEs, to the majority of small to medium companies in Cyprus. Of course, you don't develop an expert view within a day, but you start looking at, this program is of interest to me. I can talk to Celia about this after the seminar ends. Or I can ask Celia to send me the material, and maybe I can do that on my own. It doesn't mean you have to work with us. There are programs that are easy, that a company can handle all its own. There's not too much bureaucracy, not too many documents that need to be gathered and submitted, and the application is pretty easy. There are calls, European or national, that need an expert way of writing, a specific way of writing. They have, they're looking on specific type of companies. So for startups, for example, innovative companies, spin-offs from universities, the way you write these programs requires a specific knowledge and expertise. So when somebody comes to me, I always tell them the truth. I tell them, don't apply to this program. You won't be selected because of this and this. And I show them the criteria. I don't want to spend their time and money. I don't want to spend my own time as well.
Just that in itself is so valuable.
Of course, because you would be wasting.
Of course, you're going down this effort, and just to if you knew that this is leading to a dead end, you wouldn't waste your time. And so that's very valuable.
This is valuable because people know that we will never handle a proposal unless we see good chances of being accepted. Because there are so many people coming to us, so we need to select the ones that will be successful, because that's how we get paid as well.
Understood. Yeah.
As a success
performance.
Fee, on performance. We get paid also to write the proposal, but that's actually a cost because I'm paying my employees their salaries.
Yes.
So the profit comes once the proposal is successful. So we both have the same motive to get your proposal funded. Of course, there are things have become a lot more competitive over the past 3 to 5 years. It's even harder to get accepted in big programs. Competition has increased. More people have come into this game. More players, more consultants. So we tell this to people as well, so they know.
So it's competitive for you, and also competitive to actually get the grant, because there are many more startups, many more people applying.
If 10 people, let's say startups, right? They have money from the Research Innovation Foundation for 10 startups when they open the pre-seed program, and 100 apply. So I tell them, guys, you have 1 in 10 to get this. We will help you increase your chances of being approved because we've done this before. I never say you will get it. It's lying.
Yes.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know the competition and how good it's going to be. And every year people become even better in writing this type of proposal. So what we do is we enhance the chances of not doing anything wrong. Everything is complete, right, on time, because a lot of people also miss the deadlines. The thing it's an easy process to go into the platform and register and submit at the last minute. It's not. That needs also to do it well in advance. And we enhance their chances of success. That's what we do.
So let me understand the programs and just generally the landscape of here, right? So you mentioned you've got the option, or you advise your clients, there's an option to go either Cyprus funded programs, national programs, or EU programs. Okay. So I guess my first question then is, when would you go on a national? When does it make sense to go national or EU?
They're different programs.
And are there conflicting is there a similar program in the EU that exists also in Cyprus?
There is, for example, for very innovative startups, deep tech, as we call them, startups that do real innovation on a global scale. They can apply to a program in Cyprus and there's a similar program in the EU. We always start from the national programs because you're competing on a national scale.
It's easier.
It's not easier in terms of it's not certain, but your chances are bigger. Because as I told you, maybe it's 1 in 10. Whereas if you go to the EU landscape to compete, it's 5%, 3%, and so on. And you're competing with the best innovative startups at the EU level. You know, the ones that come out of universities, from research centers, and so on. But depending on the case of the client, I will suggest to them to always start from the easier programs, you know, baby steps, as I say, learn how this process works, understand the fundamentals, the rules. And once you develop this basic expertise, we can go for the bigger programs as well. That's how I work with my company as well. So I started with the easier programs, you know, small funds, smaller projects, and so on.
You mean you also apply for your own company?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Because we work as a consulting and training organization, and we develop a lot of trainings through Erasmus program, and now Horizon as well. So a lot of the work we do nowadays is more for us and less for other people, because we've developed over the 15 years specific expertise in areas.
Okay. And is there any limit to what a single company can?
Yes, there are limits.
So you can't just continue applying for grants?
For example, a very basic rule is it's not allowed to have double funding. What is double funding? I cannot ask from 2 funded projects to fund a specific invoice, a specific cost. This is illegal because I'm getting money from 2 sources for 1 expense.
Not even if you split it in 2?
No. It has to. You need to apply for different expenses for the same activity, for the same event, let's say. One program can cover an amount of expenses, and another program, if you're lucky enough to get 2 approvals, can fund for the same event different costs. So this is a very basic rule. Also in Cyprus and in Europe, we have the de minimis programs. De minimis means that over a 3-year period, from national funds, you can get up to 300,000 euros. It used to be 200,000 from the programs that have the title de minimis. It's not all the national programs, specific programs. So if I've already got 200,000 over the past 2 years, in the next year, I have a limit. I can only get another 100.
Okay.
And this applies when you're sending your employees to trainings through the Human Resource Development Authority, or in Cyprus, or abroad, or you're hiring employees through the Human Resource Development, or to programs like the Ministry of Commerce. All these have these limitations.
Okay. So what is the de minimis? What categorizes a fund as a de minimis?
It's a specific type of category of programs. The money comes from the European Commission, and they are handled by our national funding agencies, the ministries, the government authorities. And from the beginning, you know that when I open this program, it says this is a de minimis program, these are the rules, and this is what it applies. Okay. So it's a type of it's a category of programs that apply to each country at European level, but they're nationally administered, let's say. Okay. Yeah.
I think also the perspective of when we talk about funding, and I'll speak about my perspective, I'm sure this applies generally. When you speak about funding, my mind goes to getting funding for a new idea that you want to create and materialize. Yeah. But I'm understanding that that's not really the case. Funding comes in different forms, as you just mentioned.
Programs.
Could be...
you may need to hire new employees, Dino.
New recruits.
Right? New recruits. People who just graduated out of university. Yeah. There is a program for these people because they don't have work experience. So the government wants to motivate companies, employers, to hire newly graduates out of university. So there's been over a number of years now, on a continuous basis, it's always open. It's a program by the Human Resource Development Authority for young graduates who are younger than 30 years old. They don't have experience more than 8 months in that specific area, in the role that you want to hire them. And they have graduated out of university. They have a university degree. So they give you money for you to train these people for 6 to 8 months. Okay. And it's a good amount of money. So I've utilized it many times in the past, and these people usually stay. within my company.
I'm doing this all the time and I'm not getting any funding.
Exactly, because you don't know about it.
Yeah.
So now you know it. Please do utilize it. It's a pity.
Yeah.
Because you are paying this money every month.
But
in
here's the thing.
Pay slip you pay.
I know.
Human Resource Development Authority fees.
So the thing is, here's the thing. I knew about it. I forgot about it, and I don't have the time to apply for it. And maybe it's easier than I think.
It's very easy. It's an easy program.
You see, it's money on the table that I'm just leaving. Okay.
Or for now, for example, Dinos, a program that is very popular is the digital transformation program.
Right.
So where you can buy new software to transform your company, do things more effectively. Don't waste time on things that are trivial and you can automate, create better communication internally, customer service. And this is very popular. A lot of people will be applying, a lot of companies.
Okay.
Under the Ministry of Commerce.
Another one that I've heard of is if you attend exhibitions outside of the country, that means bringing in fresh money.
Yes.
Outside money.
They cover part of the cost of having your own stand in those exhibitions. Also, if you're going to trainings abroad, for you or your employees, they cover a big percentage of that cost, as long as it's a formal training, publicized in a website where you can see the program and so on.
Okay. Generally speaking, how long does it take? This is a very general question because I'm sure it is different.
It varies, yes.
For every different type of program. Yeah. So I think let's take one difficult program. Let's say I've got a new idea.
Yeah, a new product idea.
Innovative idea that needs good money, right? In the hundreds of thousands.
Yes. So let's say it's your case, right? You're an existing company.
Yes.
Not a startup.
Yes.
There's this program that's coming up in the following weeks.
Yes.
Called Innovate from the Research and Innovation Foundation of Cyprus.
Yes.
It gives up to 1 million funding to develop real innovation, not at Cypriot scale, not at national scale, but at the global scale. Right. So you apply to the program. Within 4 to 5 months, you have an answer. It takes 1 or 2 months to sign the contract with the authority, with the national authority.
Yes.
And then you have 2 years to complete the project as you have promised in the application. But you get a significant amount once you sign the contract of 40% as advance payment.
Right.
Within the 1 year, when you already have some progress, you submit an interim progress report, you get another 40%. So it keeps your cash flow running.
We discussed this one with Theodoros Lukaidis.
Yes, Theodoros is the director of the Research and Innovation Foundation.
And with Dimitris Skouridi.
The chief scientist.
He's doing some good stuff here.
Both of them, they're amazing.
Good
We're very happy
to
have these people.
These are strong people that are in good positions. And they're doing
a lot of work.
Yeah.
These are the people we want in
100%.
In such positions.
We need more like this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and so
they're trying to minimize now. They're trying to cut down the time they come with an answer, because 15 years ago, it happened to you get an answer in 2 years, and I was
they can't work in tech, especially in innovation, right?
I was writing a comment on social media. I was pregnant at the time with my second daughter, and I was giving birth during that innovation program when the submission was happening. By the time my daughter went to kindergarten, when she was 2, the results came out. So any kind of innovation you had over 2 years, it wouldn't apply anymore.
Of course.
So they know about it. They're doing, they've taken a lot of steps. All the funding agencies in Cyprus, the Ministry of Commerce, all the ministries, the Research and Innovation Foundation, to minimize this time for getting an answer and then signing the contract quickly, getting money up front, in some programs, not all of them, and getting an answer from them when you submit your interim report and your final report, so that everything submitted is correct and you get the final amounts as well. Right. But there is still room for improvement. At EU level, it takes 4 to 5 months to get an answer.
Okay.
Which again, it's a big improvement over the years.
And you also need to consider the scale of applications that they have.
There are sometimes programs, there are thousands of them.
Yeah, jeez.
So 4 or 5 months for me, it's a realistic, it's a good time frame to have an answer.
All right. So you mentioned at GrantXpert, you assist companies, consult them with getting the actual funding, and I think you also mentioned you also help them post after they've
project
gotten
management.
project management. So
the biggest team in our company is project managers, EU project managers. So it's one thing of getting the letter, which is a great day,
yes,
celebration.
Champagne.
You got funded. It's another thing to get the money in the bank. You need to go through a lot of stages, rules, follow them, adhere to this rule very rigidly. Implement the project as you promised, because a lot of people, over emphasize what they're gonna do. They're too optimistic, and when it comes to implementation time, they don't deliver. So we're next to our clients, reminding them what needs to be done every month, organizing all the partners, because at EU level, you don't have just one client, one company. You may have 20 people, 20 organizations from all over Europe, or 10. So you make sure that everybody's coordinated. They know what they have to deliver, by what time. You check the quality, of course, of the deliverables, and you submit these deliverables through the EU platform whenever deadline approaches. And also they need to keep all their accounting documents to prove that I'm spending the money that I have secured from you with the right documentation.
Right.
Timesheets, invoices, boarding passes, checkout bills from hotels, everything. So we're next to them to remind them, guys, you need to keep these documents when you have a trip. If you have an event, the commission wants to see these documents. So we handle both the financial management and the project management in terms of the quality of the work and the timeframes that they need to follow.
Yes, I'm just thinking about the massive amount of auditing that's required to make sure that the spend is fair. Because now you just mentioned boarding passes and all of these things. So how can the audit and the verification process, like the follow-up, let's call it, that's happening on the governmental level, right, and the EU level, how do they check, this guy went and spent €1,000 a night at this hotel, and
it's not allowed.
It's not
clearly. It's not allowed.
Of course, not allowed. But how are they able to check that? How do they know?
So, if we're talking about the national agencies that give funding, they have their own people. Also, if the work is too much, they take out public competitions and they hire auditors from external audit firms. So they are responsible for following the audit work. Again, at the European Commission, they have their own people internally. But if they come for an audit check, usually they hire audit companies.
And so every single receipt, every slip, everything is actually checked.
We keep them. We keep everything.
They're on record.
They may check everything from A to Z, or they may check some things like a random check. And they're allowed to come and do an audit for us, Dino, even 5 years, up to 5 years after the project has finished. So 2 years ago, we had an audit 2 years after the project finished, and we were coordinating it. So we had to make sure that everything was in place, not just for us, for all the partners of our consortium, of our partnership, because they check everyone's documents. And it's, as you understand, it's a time-consuming process.
Of course, it's overhead,
we have everything in place, but we're not happy when this happens because of time restrictions, not because we're scared that there's something wrong with that.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's the correct thing to happen, right?
Of
These
course.
are money every one of us is paying.
Yes.
We're all paying this money.
Of
the government gets the money from the citizens.
Yeah.
The government provides money to the European Union, the European Commission.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure we're spending it wisely.
Yes.
Without any profit. You're not allowed to have any profit while you're implementing the project. Everything you get needs to be spent on the cause you have indicated. There's no profit involved.
Oh, right. Meaning
during the project
you've got some remainder. Let's call it.
You have overheads.
Yes.
And the overheads is for costs like electricity, renting of venue, your office, administrative costs. But these are, again, you're paying these expenses on a monthly basis. It's not a profit. When you finish the project and you have developed an innovative idea, then you can make profit out of that. But the project, the funding period needs to be completed, and then make any profit.
Right.
It's not allowed during the project implementation to have profit.
Okay. I know you're pressed for time, and we've got maybe a few minutes here to, I guess, wrap things up. What does the future look like for GrantXpert, and what advice can you give to, I guess, any individual who's looking to start up or maybe might have a small business? This might be, if you maybe think about your answer, you might be able to give an answer that could help even a small coffee shop owner that's trying to figure stuff out.
We work with this type of people. I do them all the time because we do believe that small companies are the backbone of our economy.
Of course.
99.9% of companies in Cyprus are categorized under SMEs, small to medium companies, based on the EU definition. So if you don't help these people to make a living, to stay competitive and so on, there's a problem in the economy in general.
Yeah.
I would definitely ask them and suggest to them to go and look for funding opportunities that are available for them, not to chase the money, to see if something they are planning to do in terms of their strategy that fits well with their vision of this company and what the strategy looks like in the next years, can be partly funded by a program, because this is a big boost financially for them, to have even 50% of that cost covered. So you want to buy a new software and it's 40,000 euros, If you know that 20% is eligible for funding, you would be more inclined, more motivated to go and buy that software.
Yes.
So the whole economy works more efficiently that way. More investment is done. For sure, I wouldn't tell people to imitate other people. We see that a lot in Cyprus. There's one thing happening which works well, other people go and do the same. You don't have a competitive advantage. Try and find something that you're really good at it, that makes you instinct, and always work hard in being updated. Become an expert in an area in a deep way, and be the best in that area. So when people think about that area, they think of you.
Right.
Like what you told me you do. You have this kind of expertise with platforms from brokers.
Yes.
I don't know a lot of people who do that kind of deep expertise.
There aren't many.
Yeah. Or when people think about EU funding, I want to think GrantXpert. They trust us. They know that we will tell them the truth. So don't imitate. Find something that you are interested in, that you will be willing to study about it. Go in depth and understand it in more detail. Stay updated. Your university degrees are ancient history. From the moment you finish your studies, don't get settled that I have a degree and that's enough. It's not enough. And find good people to form a team with them. You cannot do everything on your own.
Yes.
It takes time to form a good team, somebody who complements your own weaknesses. And I think Cyprus has a lot of growth potential in many areas. In the next few years, a lot of areas are now being developed, and we should be thinking outside of Cyprus borders. Yes. That's what I'm trying to do as well. Have more clients from the EU, looking in other areas as well to create links in Middle East, because there's a lot of potential there for all Cypriot businesses. You know that already. You already have clients from there. And, think bigger.
One final question I have is, and this is for me specifically in my case, I'm sure this applies to others as well. I've already funded these things, which I'm realizing I could have asked for funding. So I've already bought hardware.
Put a lot of money.
I've already put a lot of money. I've already got people that I'm training. If I paying their salaries already, is it too late?
Yeah, it's late.
So you cannot get
money
the funding
that you've already
after
spent.
that you spent.
No, it's a very horizontal rule. You
get it first, then
you apply in Cyprus. You're allowed to apply. Submit your application in many programs, for example, the Ministry of Commerce. After the application date, before you have an answer, you can start spending at your own risk, because you may get a rejection.
Yes.
In EU funding programs, the costs that are eligible, as we say, this is our language, in EU funding programs. Eligible means that you're allowed to get the money back. It's from the day of the contract with the funding agency. So after you got the response and after you sign the contract, it says starting date 1st of October 2025. From that day on, the expenses you incur for that project are eligible. Any costs incurred before, they're not eligible. So people have to be very careful with that, because we've seen people, although we tell them about these things, they forget about it and they go and spend money, and then they're not allowed to get it back, and it's such a pity when it happens.
Good.
But let's utilize Dynamo, the funding programs from now on. It's never late. It's never, it doesn't stop. The programs are there.
Yes. Celia, I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
This was very insightful for me. I hope also for the audience.
I enjoyed our conversation very much.
Me too.
Thank you, Nino. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. You too.